of being in this country, it made it more difficult for him to function outside of the UNIA, especially as a government, the head of a government.
Okay. And not that we're going to discuss this issue very much, but we are working to finalize the steps on the land from Sir Isaiah Moore in Belize. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's important that everyone understand that this land that was willed to us in Belize must be secured by the UNIA in the 21st century. We were really blessed that the way the land was willed to us could not be usurped by others who were trying to obtain that land for their own personal reasons. The Honorable Redmond Battle was made aware that the land was still there in Belize. It was undeveloped land. No one had taken it or was able to do anything with it. So we were able to restore our legal claim to this land, and efforts are being made now to finalize obtaining the deeds. But everyone who calls themselves a Garveyite needs to understand that we have a legal and a moral obligation to raise the monies, take the legal steps, to take the physical steps to not only secure that land, but to develop that land. When I say a legal and a moral obligation, the Honorable Marcus Garvey himself identified this land as a critical, important piece to the UNIA. And he also profiled Sir Isaiah Moore. I believe in philosophy and opinion, Sir Isaiah Moore is the only individual that a chapter was dedicated to, a full-page picture of him, to leave this message to us that this land base is important. And so as we go forward in the 21st century, we must make sure that Belize, all Garveyites must make sure that we're working together to ensure that this land in Belize becomes a part of whatever this government does for the 21st century.
Okay. Okay, thanks for the update on Belize. Now, returning to the government that the Honorable Marcus Garvey established, was this a provisional government or a permanent one?
That's a very good question. As people begin to articulate more that we are a government, some people are asking the question whether or not what was done in the 20s was a provisional or a permanent aspect. What I can say to you is that the Honorable Marcus Garvey was given the title as the Provisional President of Africa. And he accepted that title on a conditional basis until such a time when the different countries in Africa were able to secure their own independence or would be moving towards the United States of Africa. With regards to the UNIA, in all of the research that I've done in totality, Marcus Garvey made it clear that he was talking about a permanent government, and this is the way that he wanted us to look at the government of the UNIA. So I think that people need to separate that distinction between him being the provisional president of Africa and what he wanted the UNIA government to look like.
Okay. So now we're talking, you're talking about things that Mr. Garvey did back in the 1920s, and here we are in 2009, more than 80 plus years ago. Tell us how we are working to restore this government and why it is our belief that this government still has legal standing over 80 plus years later.
All right, let me answer in reverse here. From a legal perspective, modern law is looked at in terms of when a legal standard has been set or law has been established, unless that law has been declared illegal or unless it's modified in some shape, form, or fashion, even though it is dormant, it is still law. That's universal. And so everyone understands that concept. So when we had a situation where the UNIA was not developing the government for however long this occurred, it has the right to restore it whenever it decides it wants to do that. And no one can challenge it because it's already been determined to be a legal standard. And so that's what the Honorable Reverend Battle decided that he wanted done. That is what has continued now with the current administration being led by the Honorable Single Baye. And so we have that legal right and that lawful right to restore this government. And that's exactly what we're doing. Now the vision for it, how it's going to be done, is a multifaceted kind of approach. And everyone needs to understand that we are still in the